Thank you for coming to watch Dr. Smith's video today. We encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the alert button. That way you can get notifications when he uploads a new video. Thank you for coming today.
So we hope you take the time to hear and think about, and if you have a book, read in the book about the concept and the topics that we talk about. They have a lasting effect. The intent is not necessarily to treat pain, but to make permanent, long-term correction with your whole family and your friends.
Thank you. Make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button. Have a good day.
Have a good day. In science, the power that made you is called what? Universal intelligence. Each of you have your portion as a gift to you from God by divine design, your share of universal intelligence. On the individual basis, it's called innate intelligence. Innate intelligence is always 100% available and 100% present. Innate intelligence is not the Holy Ghost. Innate intelligence can be compared more to the Spirit of Christ that's in you. It's the power that organizes you, and it's in all life form. It's in mosquitoes, it's in virus, it's in trees, it's in flowers. All life has innate intelligence. You can reduce the power of your innate intelligence. In other words, you can turn it down from 100% available. You can turn it down, and you could turn it down, you could turn it down, and the more you turn it down, the less power it has in you to function. So if you go to a doctor, a real doctor, and he does a diagnosis for you, and says to you, you have diabetes, you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have cancer, whatever you have, and they says to you, you're never going to get over this. We don't have a cure. You're going to have to live with the symptoms. And so you're going to die with it. And you say, I believe you, and you accept the fact that you've been diagnosed, you've had a label. You can go down to the shops that prints up little name tags, and you can have, I am a diabetic, I am rheumatoid arthritic, and you can have a new label for you. Now, not to be or sacrilegious, but to me that's kind of silly, because I happen to believe in the innate. I happen to have witnesses to me that in the thousands of patients that I've seen and treated, the fact that innate works. The greater your belief in innate, the greater the power. And I have a hard time believing that if you have any disease process, that if you went to a doctor whose name was Christ, he would not say to you, oh, I can't fix that, would he?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Now, we've been reading the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, you learned about Moses, and he put the idol on the staff for the sick people to look at. So my question to you is, how sick were they? What kind of sickness did they have? Was it arthritis of the shoulder? Was it a stomach ulcer? Was it leprosy? Was it a brain tumor? What kind of injury did they have? The truth is, there were thousands of people that probably had a sample of everything, and guess what they needed to do? One thing.
Believe.
Look and believe. Look and believe. And many of them were so stubborn that they would not even look. So they ended up maintaining their disease process. Now, I tell you that to remind you that that same power you have today is called innate. And the power of Christ can heal you from above down, inside out. Now, when I say above down, inside out, if we talk to a non-scientist, a person who's not religious, they talk about that all life on earth comes from the energy from the sun and the sky. Well, that's partly true. First, where did the sun get and the sky get its energy from? God. So that's above, down to the sun, from the sun down to us. And so when we get our energy from above, down, inside out, what should we eat more of? Foods that grow in the sun, or things that live in the bottom of the ocean where there's no sun? Sun. The closer your food source is to the sun, the more innate it has in it. And the more you believe in the power of your body, healing your body, the more power you have to do it. Now, if we go back to the little child who's 3 years old and is hyperactive, kids that age are taught you need a pill. When you go see the doctor will fix you. And that's both of those are lies. They don't need the pill and they don't need to go to the doctor to get fixed, because doctors don't heal tissue. They never have, they never will. It comes from above, down, inside out. And the best thing that we can do is to teach the young people to have greater faith in the power that made the body. Now, again, kind of a review. God gave you DNA, put DNA in every cell to help you adapt to the stress you're under. DNA helps you change when the weather changes. It helps you change when you break your leg or your back and you can't walk for months. That's a stress. If you have that kind of damage, that's stressful to the body, and the DNA help you adapt to survive and not break down. Think of the DNA like you would a sailor on a ship. We're going into the North Atlantic. There's icebergs. We're going to keep on going day and night. We need somebody up front watching for icebergs. We have some sensory devices. They have a direct communication with the captain that controls the ship. If they see a problem, they turn, they move, they do something different. That's what your DNA does in your body. And that's a gift to you from God. And you don't even know about it. But it's always working. And every cell has its own DNA. Your eyes have their DNA, your joints, your gut, your muscles, and they help you adapt. A word Deborah likes to use is adaptogen. DNA or adaptogen. They cause changes to occur. Now, where does the DNA get its power? This is a key point. The DNA does not get its power from sugar, carbohydrate. Does not get it from protein. Does not get it from fat. It gets it from, like a nuclear power submarine. It gets it from minerals. A nuclear power submarine has plutonium. They put some in, they go out and see, and they go out for months. They don't have to stop at the gas station like you do and get refills, because the plutonium lasts a long time. When you consume real salt, that salt that God put on the earth by divine design on every continent, that has all the minerals that your DNA needs, you power your body's adaptogens. If you don't have real salt and you have Morton's and Leslie's, you're getting only a fraction of the benefit that you could get if you had the full spectrum of real salt. Now, sometimes people will ask which is better, Himalayan or real salt from Utah. My answer would be to, when possible, buy salt that comes from the closest source that you can get it from. So if you're in Louisiana, get the salt that's in the Louisiana salt mines. If you're in Toronto, Canada, you get the salt that's under the earth in Toronto, Canada. In Toronto, Canada, they have, just outside of there, they have deep, deep salt mines, and they haul millions of tons of salt out of the earth every year. So it's everywhere. There have been wars fought over salt way before they understood why and how it was what it did. Way before they knew how important it really was. They knew it helped them. Now, when we talk to doctors about salt, they will say, you need to cut your sodium level. You need to back off on salt. I agree with that. They're not talking the same language. They're not talking about real salt. They're talking about sodium chloride in Morton's and Leslie's. And you need to know, Morton was not a doctor. Morton was not interested in health at all. Morton was a marketer. He made millions of dollars selling salt to the public. And part of the reason they added the iodine was to help people who were deficient in iodine, because a lot of people are, because they don't eat right. And so they took waste products from industry and added the salt. So the evil people won, like they just often.
Well, they added it so it wouldn't cake, so it would pour in the rain. Remember that?
When it rains, it pours.
And so he added the chemicals so it wouldn't cake, and that was one of his advertisements.
Yep.
Tell about your horses.
My horse story.
I like the horse story.
This is a true story. I was raised on a dairy farm down by Goshen, Firth, Idaho. And we would go to the feed store and buy the red blocks of salt and the white blocks of salt. We put them in the salt trough. That's what we called it, the salt trough. And the cows and the horses would come over and they'd lick and lick and lick and lick. One day my dad wrote an article in the Farmer's Journal about a farmer in Tremont, Utah, who had experimented with real salt from southern Utah. That he said, I know that it helped my dairy produce better milk. I know that the cows born from those cows were more healthy. So my dad said, get in the pickup. We're driving to southern Utah. That was way back before I-15. It took us a long time to get to the salt mines. We pulled into the salt mines. I thought it would be something fancy. It looked like an ordinary gravel pit to me. Just dirt, not dirt, rock, big rocks. And they blow them out. And so we picked up the big blocks and put them in the pickup as much as they could carry, and we drove back to the farm. We took the blocks and put them in the salt trough, and guess what? They left the other alone. So the other two sat there and sat there and sat there, and we replaced the rock salt for a long time. And you know, I was a stupid little kid. I thought, I wonder what that tastes like. You know, it tasted. It doesn't taste quite the same as Morton's, but I liked it. And that was, again, before they started crushing it up and selling it to people. It was at first only for animals. And then when we go hunting down by Soda Springs, my dad would say, now there's a salt lick, that's what they call them. There's a salt lick over here, and if we go over there and hang out, we're gonna get good results because the animals know where the salt lick is. So that's my salt story, and that's a true story. And so, if we ask the question, we're gonna add real salt, what does that do to the body? It helps homeostasis. So if you have low blood pressure, you'll probably have more normal. If you have high blood pressure, will probably help you bring it down. If you have low energy, it will probably elevate your energy. I've given salt to athletes who have taken the little salt pills the coaches gave them, and give them real salt. They can tell the difference in 1 week. They have more stamina and more strength. So that's a gift to you, the DNA and the salt to provide almost free source of power for it. Another gift to you is your stem cells. The stem cells, as you know, are made in the bones. And they're like a wild card. They can become anything you need in your body. You can buy stem cells commercially. You can have a nurse come to your home, give you a stem cell shot in your shoulder or hip, or if you have arthritis. Will cost you about $5,000. If you have pain, the pain doesn't go away. In a year, they'll give it to you again free. If you want a good deal, you have them do both shoulders and your knee. That's now $13,000. If you want shoulder, knee, you could probably get it for $17,000. It's cash. Your insurance company said no, we're not going to pay for that. So you can do that, or you can buy some supplements in the T-zone and stimulate the bones and nurture the bones, and get more and better stem cells to help your body heal. Now, what do stem cells become? They become whatever is needed. They become muscle, bone, heart, kidney. They can become help with the turnover of all new connective tissue. They can also, and this is very important to you, they become the body's first responders. Now, I didn't hardly ever remember hearing the word first responders until 9/11. After 9/11, it became very common. When you think of a first responder, you think of who? Firemen, ambulance, police. A lot of them.
The heroes coming to save the day.
Exactly. In your body, you have white blood cells. They used to be stem cells. They're specialized. They specialize in what they do. Some of them just go around to look for virus. Some of them look for bacteria. And some of you who have had the live blood analysis may have seen on your slide, looking at your blood, bacteria. What happens on the slide when you see the bacteria?
It depends on the type of bacteria, but I think you're talking about the mycoplasma, where the red blood cells get spikes on them.
And what do the white blood cells do?
Oh, they'll come in and surround it and eat it, dispose of it, clean it up.
They're first responders.
Yeah.
That's for you. That's happening every day in your body. So when you think of, the new strain of COVID or whatever they may name it, your body doesn't care. It doesn't matter as long as your body has the energy to fight. If you have low energy, you can't fight. If you have low energy and you get COVID, your energy goes lower. And that's happened to a lot of people. Today, another report of people post-COVID losing their hair. Why? Hair is an accessory, believe it or not. It's extra parts. You don't need it. If you need other tissue more, your body will make less hair and more of other things. Okay, let's go to the test handout. The handout. I'm going to read this today. I think I can do that. True or false? All true and complete healing comes from above down and set out, guided by innate. There are two key words, healing and innate. We're not taking symptomatic relief. we're talking about regeneration, remodeling. Number 2, lotions, potions, pills, and surgery are but facilitatory aids for the function and pain relief. True. These pills that we have you buy and take, those are potions. They're designed not to cure you, but to nourish you and help you facilitate. Now, let me talk about the word facilitate. By divine design, your body was created to survive the worst of conditions. Right now in the Ukraine, we have millions of people who have been forced to become involved in incomprehensible suffering. Most of them will survive. Why? They were designed by God to go through the worst kind of trauma. When I went to BYU, I took a class, and the whole class was on survival. That was the class. We had to read multiple books, autobiographies of people who had been through horrendous long-term experiences and had lived. And the sole purpose of that class was to give us hope and courage in case we ever got in those situations. For example, people had walked through the Alps, amputate their own fingers and toes because of frostbite. Prisoners of war who lived for 6 or 7 years in a little pit with minimal food and water and insects and all the stuff that they dealt with. And most of their friends mentally gave up. When they gave up, they died. But these people didn't. They would, in their little shelter, they would think of composing music. They would create things in their mind. They would do everything they could mentally to survive. But in order to be healthy, think of a tutor talk, or think of on the farm we used to call it the spirit level. The long bar with a little bubble in the middle, you put on things to a level. And the idea was to get it level. Well, if you tip this way, you're on survival mode. If you do some minor changes and you get it tipped this way, then you're on recovery mode. And it's our responsibility to learn and to do what we need to do to be in recovery mode and maintain it over time and give the body time to heal. Number 3, by divine design, different types and intensities of pain are present and function as warnings and teachers. True. What did they teach you?
There's something wrong. Fix it.
There's something wrong. And I put in here different kinds. Some of them are automatic. If you put your hand on a sharp needle, you don't have to think, oh, do I need to move my finger? No, I probably should. No, your body will, same with hot. Okay? But some things you get an ache in the side, just a low level ache, and it lingers and lingers and lingers and lingers and lingers. Well, yeah, teacher, what's wrong? Is it my liver? That's where the liver is. Or maybe it would be a rib. Or it could be like the colon, or maybe the gallbladder. You have to think about things and get help to fix them. That they're teachers.
I just wanted to share a quick experience about a teacher for me. Last week my car was in the shop and I drove my husband's big, tall pickup truck all week. And about halfway through the week, my knee started hurting. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It took a little time to figure out what the cause was. But every time I stepped up like this and then put pressure, my knee was getting, torqued. And one day I was getting in and I thought, wow, that really hurts to do that. That's what's causing the problem. So I modified how I was using it for the rest of the week, and it helped. But sometimes it can take a little bit of time to realize, oh, this thing I'm doing, or this thing I'm eating, or this thing I'm thinking is not good.
The trigger.
Yeah.
Our neighbor was telling her, don't get in the truck.
Don't get in the truck.
Number 4, specialized cells called proprioceptors are sensory nerves functioning like micro GPS units in our joints, keeping our brain aware of the location and movement of each joint. True. Your brain knows where your body parts are. Number 5, innate directs the first responders in the body against all foreign invaders. You can underline the word all. Inflammation, which includes swelling, pain, redness, heat, and are indicative of their presence. True. So when you have those symptoms, like Deborah did, when you have pain, redness, swelling, heat, that kind of stuff, that's an indication the first responders are here. And they're telling you, don't get in the truck. Okay? Number 6, stem cells are divinely designed cells that, like wild cards, become any kind of type of cell needed. They're created in the bone marrow by the millions every day. True. And you don't even need to know about it. It's happening for you by God, gift from God. But they need nurture. They need real food. 7, angiogenesis describes the body's action of creating new blood vessels to ensure the functioning tissue is able to have needed nourishment. True. I had a lady who comes to see me who broke a leg, and when it was not a bad break, but it broke the bone clear in two. That damaged bone, blood vessels, nerves, tendons, muscles, lymphatic fluid, all that tissue was damaged and needed nourishment. So the body automatically goes to work to make new blood vessels to carry the blood, to carry the nutrition to every cell. Every cell in your body has a source of blood supply, and that's what happens. The microbiome, number 8, is a zoo within, is a habitat of multiple species of organisms that work symbiotically for the benefit of the body. True. Where is the zoo? Top of Spark, right? Just south, right? Where is it?
Isn't it your small intestine? Okay.
No, not stomach.
What's that? Small intestine?
Bingo.
Okay.
Small
Took a
intestine.
year.
And if you're healthy, you should have about 3 pounds. That's a lot. And guess what? Those creatures, just like in toughest part, they want to eat certain food. And they have a direct effect on your brain. And if you have unfriended flora in the small intestine, it says, we need more chips.
So one thing that is really helpful to nurture the zoo within the microbiome is to every so often do a flora blitz or a good bacteria blitz. I personally am thinking about it a lot right now because for me, like I think ideally you would do it once a quarter, which also can tie into the change in the seasons. And we just, tomorrow is a new quarter and we just came into spring. So it's a good time to go through a flora blitz program and just make sure you're resupplying all of that good bacteria in there and crowding out the bad bacteria. Just as a measure of good general overall health upkeep.
And I like what you said about each quarter and the season. We're very fortunate in Idaho because we do have all 4 seasons. Now, I watch kids walk down my street every day. And so it's 10 degrees and they're walking down the street with the coat and zips, no hat. They have adapted to the cold weather. And the people who sitting around in the house, they haven't adapted. Their adaptation is a coat or two and a scarf or two.
He was looking at me. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
It's interesting when you go, this whole group, if we went to San Francisco, we'd probably all put coats on, buy sweatshirts, and they were looking, there's a tourist, there's a tourist, there's a tourist, there's a tourist. They know who's tourists. They're used to it. They're walking around with cutoffs, short shirts, because they've adapted to it.
Well, and sometimes we go to St. George and we take off all our clothes and they're wearing jackets.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Number 9, the DNA in this cell is responsible for the cell's adaptation in order to survive the daily micro and micro trauma. I like to underline micro. I think micro trauma is probably more significant than macro trauma. It's the small things that you do or don't do that pile up and cause body breakdown. So most people, if we compare the body to a bucket, most people have many small holes. Maybe a few big holes. To make the most progress symptomatically, if we treat the big holes. But to be healthy, you need to be aware, and that's one of the reasons we have the classes. That's one of the reasons why it's important for you to do self-assessments frequently, not just how you walk, but what you think about, who you hang out with, what you do when you, that's your term, right? Hang out. Hang out.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. I know you're looking at her, but yeah.
You're still in it.
We are. Is that true then? Number 9?
Number 9 is true.
Very good.
If you have single daughters who are 23 and they're going to be with you, if they want to hang out, tell them to hang out on the law library.
Hang out on what?
In the law
The
library.
library.
Oh, yeah, sure.
With makeup.
Brush your teeth.
That's adapting to the stress. Number 10, life can be like a candle that maintains a similar flame throughout life, then quickly goes out at the end. True. Now, you don't need permission from your doctor. You don't need permission from the insurance company, the government, to die. It's perfectly legal to die at home, healthy. 11, the greater my faith and belief in my divinely designed body, the greater the healing power.
True.
Now, true, that basically is the whole main message of today's discussion, is to have you really think about what's going on. Sometimes one of my wife's famous statement says, don't they think about what's going on with our friends at church, they're all doing all kinds of stupid things and not getting better. They're just spinning and going downhill. They're living the survival rather than trying to get healthy. To get healthy, you have to be involved. You have to be engaged. You have to keep asking why. And truthfully, some things work for you and they won't work for your friend. And you say, well, some things work for your friends and family, And this is very good marketing. It worked for you, and it worked for you, and it worked for you, so it's probably going to work for me. Well, it might not, because you have a different bucket, you have different holes, and you have a different tests. And sometimes the tests in life are mental. Sometimes they're emotional, sometimes they're spiritual, sometimes they're structural. Sometimes they have nothing to do with you. They may be a family member. I have a few families I create who have major problems with some of the family members. And because of that, they're becoming better people because of the other person. I read an article yesterday about a new diagnosis that the psychiatrists have come up with. They have a code for it, and the insurance company will pay for it. And we have a new drug. It shocked me when I read it. If you have had a death in the family, and you're grieving more than 12 months after the death, you can be diagnosed and treated with a drug for addiction to grief.
Congratulations.
That was like a mic drop moment right there.
So when you have a death in the family, if you're still grieving after a year, don't tell your doctor unless you want another drug. Any other questions or comments about what we talked about or anything else today?
I have 2 questions. What is a Flora Blitz?
A Flora Blitz. We take the Flora Plus. You know what a Blitz is?
In football. No, you don't. I've heard you guys say the word. Yeah.
That means we're going to send everybody. So when you do a Flora Blitz, you take a lot of Flora for a short time.
Okay.
A whole bunch.
So like you would do 4 capsules 4 times a day for the whole bottle.
And you do that 4 times. You do that quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it just a probiotic, basically?
Not,
It's cream de la cream.
It's not just a probiotic,
Okay.
but it's a variety of probiotics that help, yeah. And that's what Flora is. It's the good flora,
Okay.
good bacteria, probiotics, all the same
it's
thing.
the best product we have ever found to make the zoo healthy.
So then after that, you take how many? After your first month, after your first bottle?
After your blitz,
Mm-hmm. After the first bottle.
I like to do like the Asians do and have a slow trickle of constant good flora, whether it's through capsule form or fermented food form, throughout the day at each meal. So some people are not good about doing fermented foods, and I am hit and miss with it. So I will usually take 1 Flora Plus 3 times throughout the day and also have a little bit of fermented food here and there. But I think that slow trickle helps.
Do pickles count?
If they're the right pickles. Pickles in and of themselves are just brined.
Right.
They're not fermented. If they're fermented, they count. I use the Bubby's pickles for that because they are specifically fermented.
I
Yes.
didn't find those.
You go to a different store.
The what store?
Pardon?
A different store.
A different store.
that has them.
So Wealth
I
of
think
Health,
I've asked and they're just like.
Wealth of Health almost always has them. I mean, the natural stores will almost always have them. Brolem's usually
Didn't have it.
will have it. They will almost always have the Bubby's sauerkraut, but you can also get like I think it's called wild brine sauerkraut at Costco that says right on it fermented live food, but it's always going to be in the refrigerated section.
So is that something you could can homemade?
Oh, yeah.
You absolutely can, and that's what it traditionally came from. But if you make your pickles, you need to introduce or let them set out with a cheesecloth or something over them for a few days to pick up the natural yeast and bacteria in the air and let them ferment. But like sauerkraut, how it's traditionally made, is a fermented food, just like kimchi is, just like yogurt is. Just like kefir is.
How about the kombucha?
Yes.
Do you drink you don't drink a whole bottle of that, do you, a day?
No, absolutely
Oh, my
not.
goodness.
No, with the, like, you just need a little bit here and there. So I'm not a huge fan of the kombucha unless I make it.
Okay.
But
Either.
sitting right next to it is what's called the sparkling probiotic that Kavita makes. And
I love,
it's
by the way,
fantastic.
thank you for
Yeah,
introducing it. It has replaced Diet Coke. For
it's
me. It's so
an
good.
absolute treat. Yeah, it's an absolute treat to drink. So that's awesome.
I love it.
But I'll have like a sip or two, or like 2 to 3 ounces
Like a
at a
shot
time.
glass meaningful.
I mean, a big shot, but like at least 2 ounces
Okay.
at a time.
I have GERD quite bad, and I found that the fermented sauerkraut takes care of the acid reflux. And I sleep
Really?
fine. Don't have it during the night. Don't have it during the morning.
Yeah.
I take it either with, sometimes before I eat or with my food.
But all Asian cultures have done that for forever. They use natto or kimchi or miso or tempeh.
So do you reduce reduce what it does if you put it? I put mine in my smoothie because I just can't
No.
stand sauerkraut.
You reduce it if you cook it.
Sorry, what?
It's sparkling water.
It's kombucha. Sparkling kombucha.
No,
It's a
I'm
sparkling probiotic.
Oh, okay.
And
It's
where
not
do
the
you get
kombucha
that?
one.
It's not, the kombucha is almost always made with black tea or green tea, and the sparkling probiotic is not made with tea.
Walmart.
Kavita,
But I
Kevita.
don't know where it's at. I order it.
Okay, I'm going to do another commercial on April 11th through 14th. That week, the classes here, Deborah's going to teach on the live blood. If you have some sick friends, that would be a good way to have them meet Deborah and have an introduction to the value of a live blood. Now, I had a fellow yesterday who had the live blood. He also went to the medical doctor and had a regular blood test done. And he asked the medical doctor about one of the problems that he had that showed up on the live blood. And the medical doctor said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Whoa,
That was low.
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah.
that's scary.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.